There we go. There we go. That's all happening. Okay. This is my favorite part. Although some people just sit here and stare at the screen while people are coming in. And it's like, oh no, I want to fill some time because it's so weird that we're all just sitting here waiting for everybody to come in. So as you're joining us, Caroline, Gina, welcome back. It's so great to have both of you here.
So much. Thrilled to be here.
Absolutely delighted.
It's so much fun. So before we get into like the official intros and stuff, we'll just kill some time for a minute because we do have people still popping in here and getting settled in. Caroline, we talked a little bit earlier about what was going on with the weather. Tell us where you're calling in from and what the weather's like where you're at.
I am calling in from one subway stop out of Manhattan in Hoboken, New Jersey. It's 90 something degrees here and my air conditioning isn't working. So it's kind of like being in a sauna. You told me, Julie, that you're in cool, lovely weather.
I don't even think I'll have to look here real quick, but I think the last time I looked, I think it was like, we're actually up at 72 degrees right now, but it was 68 degrees earlier. Sorry.
This is, and in like Caroline, my air conditioning at home isn't working, but I just finished my class at UConn a little early. I hope some of my students are here and they won't be graded, but they were here. And one of the reasons that I've been coming into the office a lot this summer is because this has been air conditioned and my air conditioning also went. So I don't know whether it's to get us to work in a different way. It's to get us to, to go out and spend money at a cafe to sit and read and write. But the at-home air conditionings have all, I think, decided that we've been home too much.
I think so too.
We need to be in other places.
Yeah. I think so too. So I think it's kind of like that push that we all need. Well, it's not. I don't know. I've still got pretty good weather. I hope. So push us out to go back to those offices and to those stores. So while we're getting settled in, I know a lot of you may already know who Warwick's is, but for those of you that don't, we are located. So we're in. I'm actually in Carlsbad, which is very north of San Diego, but La Jolla is where Warwick's is. Been there since 1896, just north of San Diego. And so we talking about going out. We'd love you to come shopping. Tonight, Gina and Caroline are going to talk for about 35 minutes, something to that effect. And there is going to be, and there, see on your bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A button. Use that Q&A button if you have any questions. We always love audience questions, so think of something good to ask and put that into the Q&A button there. And Caroline will get to those when her and Gina are through having their little chat. Yep. And then I will make sure in the chat is now open. If everybody wants to chat with each other, that's great. If it gets a little unruly though, I have my magic wand and can shut that thing off. So just be nice to everybody. In that comment in the chat section though is where I'm going to put how to order Gina's book. And I have a little surprise about another one that's coming up. So make sure if you're in the San Diego area, we'd love for you to come by Warwick's, but we could ship books anywhere in the country. So with that, I think it's time that we should start the official show here. And I'm going to introduce these wonderful women, and then I'm going to go away for a little bit. So Gina is the author of 10 books that have been translated into several languages and has also edited 17 collections. Board of Trustees Distinguished Professor of English Literature at the University of Connecticut, Gina has read regularly for the New York Times, the Chicago Tribune, Cosmopolitan, Ms., and the Chronicle of Education. Deemed a feminist humor maven, which I love, by Ms., and called smart and funny by People magazine, Gina has appeared often as a repeat guest on CNN, Today, NPR, Oprah, and Good Morning America, and has lectured worldwide on humor, gender, power, and my favorite thing, troublemaking. Gina and Caroline were here back in 2021 to discuss Fast, Funny Women. And we're here tonight to discuss, or today, whichever part of the country you're in, to discuss Gina's new collection, Fast, Furious Women, which Caroline's wonderful writing appears in. Caroline is the award-winning author of 12 novels, including the New York Times bestseller, Pictures of You, and Is This Tomorrow? A book critic for People magazine. Her essays, articles, and stories have been included in New York Magazine, Modern Love in the New York Times, Salon, and the Daily Beast, among others. Caroline is the author of With or Without You, and her next book, Days of Wonder, will be published in the spring of 2024. And she has a special request for all of you. She would love for you to pre-order this from Warwick's. So I'm going to put that, if I can find the link, I'm going to put that into the comment section as well. We'd love to have your pre-orders. Nothing more special than just waking up one day and opening a door, and there's Caroline's new book for you. She's also the recipient of New York Foundation of the Arts Award for Fiction and a Sundance Screenwriters Lab finalist. Carolyn is also the co-founder of A Mighty Blaze. Ladies, have a great conversation. We'll see you in a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I am absolutely thrilled to have Gina here. And we've been through a couple of Fast Women books through the years, and I've been delighted by it. So I want to ask a very basic question first. How did the whole fast flash fiction women, I want to know all the gritty little details.
Well, the gritty details actually start in this office at the University of Connecticut. I mean, this is really, it is, as I said, when the lights go off, because I'm in an office where if I don't move enough, the lights go off. I mean, this is, so we understand that it's not that I'm dimming because I don't think my makeup looks right. The makeup is just what the makeup is. It's just going to be it. But about 15 years ago, I think, one of the publishers of Woodhull Press, which is the one who do the Fast Women books, was a student in my creative writing class. And just like the creative writing class that I just was teaching down the hall. And David Leger, was a terrific student then. And about a few years, maybe 5-6 years ago now, time goes fast, came back and it started the press and said, would you be willing to do a collection for us? Would you be, would you think about doing something that has to do with women? Because he knew always that was a particular interest of mine, was women in humor, feminist fiction, feminist nonfiction, essays. And I'm like, absolutely, I would love to do this, right? That this would be fabulous. And so we started to talk, and out of that came the first book, which was Fast Funny Women.
Right.
And, and this was done, the cover, all the covers are great. This is Mimi Pond, who is, another New York Times bestseller. I hang out in fabulous company, and who did a graphic novel called Over Easy, about her days being a waitress in Haight-Ashbury. And Mimi is just incredible. I have one of Mimi's first books called, I think, Shoes Don't Lie. That's wonderfully illustrated and hysterical, and that is probably 25 years old. I mean, I'm looking for one of the things that I have from you, Caroline, which is the, you did a beautiful illustrated bookmark.
Oh, I did?
Yes, right? Earlier
Okay,
books that I have. And so that, again, people who have visual acumen and talent, which clearly you do, and I do not. So I am thrilled. The second book then was Fast Fierce Women. And then now we're up to Fast Fallen Women, and we're just doing, for next year, we're going to do Fast Famous Women. And for which, again, you are gracious enough to be writing, and you're going to be writing about Fanny Bryce, or you have written brilliantly about the original funny girl, Fanny Bryce. And
you can't do these books without me, Gina.
I can't. I refuse. I refuse to do them without you. And that's the whole thing. Again, these books are, and this was the idea that David had about my being the editor of the series. We didn't know it was going to be a series. It was just so much fun doing the first one.
Oh, it's so much fun.
It was just, I figured we can keep doing this, but it's like having big dinner parties. And it's like, you make room for everybody, lots of different stuff being passed around. And there are people over here laughing and having champagne. There are other women on the veranda who are crying. And, somebody's passing around like a Marlboro Red. And they're just like, I haven't done this in 20 years. And there's somebody else who's got a baby on her lap, and they're talking, and they're bouncing the baby and passing the baby around. And, it's all of this is going on at the same time. So it's all these conversations that women are having about the truth of our lives. And since this one
Yes.
is fallen women, you can imagine that this has a lot of stories that had been said in whispers, but now people are saying out loud, and, of saying, hey, I was a bad girl. Yeah, I did that. And then other women going, oh, you're such a, for me, I'm 66 years old. They're like, you're such a nice little old lady. And I'm like, yeah, it didn't start out that way. I mean, I'm very lucky that that's what it ended up being. But, we've all gone through a lot, and we've all done different things that the world has judged us for. And that
Yes.
started with our first mother, Eve, who said, what's this piece of fruit going to taste like, and, the fruit in the garden that was forbidden was also the tree of knowledge, right? I mean, as Margaret Atwood writes about.
Right.
I mean, you take that, it's the forbidden fruit, but it's also knowledge. And, when male gods got to do that, I mean, they got punished too. It's Prometheus, it's everybody. It's like, I'll take a little of that fire, I'll figure out how to do it.
But they didn't get punished as badly.
Right, exactly. So we just, but once we find out that other women have done this, it's because we've all had to keep it secret. We've locked this away, and we blame ourselves, and we judge ourselves, and we think we're the only ones who have gone through this. And then you're going, wait a minute, wait, all of you did
Yep.
this?
We all have stories.
We all have stories.
I-
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
I was going to say, and so often we get to, and thank God for fiction writers like you, because we connect with the characters in the books, because they get to act out and feel what we feel, right? But we think, okay, but
that's
she's a fictional character. She's a creation. And these are nonfiction. I mean, mostly they're creative nonfiction, but they're nonfiction. So there's a real texture of people's authentic experiences in them that gives, I think, a kind of a permission, not necessarily a confession, but just permission for people to say, yeah, that was me. Yes, I did. And I'm here, and I'm fine. And I'm not even looking for forgiveness or absolution.
Right.
Just looking to validate my experience.
Right. I also want to say that what's so interesting about this book and so wonderful about it is that it's not black and white. You have like certain phrases, the other woman, which you're going to be reading from, or, a thief or a prostitute or whatever.
Right.
But in these essays, they're all nuanced. We get to see there's a reason why people do what they do. And it's not just black and white that I want to do this thing and everybody's going to think I'm bad. There's reasons for it, and yearning and emotion. And it's what you said in the opening of this book that I read before, but I want to read it again. Think of this collection of essays as a companion. Fallen women are often used as an object lesson, as a subject of a tutorial on how not to become her. This book is not a tutorial. It is a celebration. Embrace the fall. And I love that, because that's exactly what it is. That's how we know our humanity, by knowing other people's humanity and mistakes.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that humanity there, it has to do not with embarrassment or shame, but with a kind of humility, like the acceptance of, yes, this is part of my life. I mean, this is, I say, you fall because you were abandoned, and then you become a woman of abandon. And I say, consider the word abandon. If you're abandoned, you're left behind, you're emptied out, something else or someone else comes in the way they would into an abandoned building that was vacated and ripe for some tenant. But a woman of abandon, that's something else. That's where you get to say, I'm done. I'm not paying attention to what you told me, to all those rules telling me how I'm supposed to be stable and good. And a woman who does something with abandon, it's almost the same, but it has to do with something positive, not negative. And so I'll take you up on your deal. I'll read your essay, I'm just going to say, is lousy. I'm not going to, but it's Lousy Dancer, and it's wonderful. And the second paragraph is a one-line paragraph. which again, I always try to encourage my own writing students to, go for the one line paragraph. And the one line paragraph, that's the second paragraph, is what the hell am I doing? And a lot of these actually are, what the hell am I doing? There's a lot of what the hell am I doing? And mine is called The Other Woman. And I decided that, this is not, there are pieces in the book called, hold on. There were ones, First Kiss, Sweet Tooth, The Toxic Friend, Gingerbread Woman, which is absolutely wonderful. A lot about mothers, motherhood. And I thought, okay, let's just, if I'm asking other people to pony up, this is ponying up. So The Other Woman, she's the nicest woman you could ever meet. In fact, you probably met her. You might know her fairly well, and you might like her without being aware, of course, that she's sleeping with your husband. This is the only part of her life that can't be examined, admired, or discussed out loud. It's the only part of her life she doesn't respect herself for, and it keeps her miserable even when she's happy. She knows that whatever happiness she has is stolen. It's shoplifted and illegitimate. She's not a fool, even though she knows she's acting like one. Or she's not sleeping with your husband, and maybe you're single. Maybe you have a different relationship in your life. And so this is a friend of yours, a woman you consider a dependable part of your life. She's an elementary school teacher, a physical therapist, bank executive, an engineer, a computer programmer. She's been your friend since junior high, your colleague, your neighbor, your confidant, without revealing this part of her life to you, because she suspects that even at your most understanding, you wouldn't understand. You wouldn't unless you've been through this, and she knows you haven't, or she thinks she knows you haven't. But one thing she has learned is that nobody is exempt from the possibility of this happening. If a person could claim exemption, she'd be the first one on the list. Educated, polite, and brought up by a loving family, she's not a particularly hot tomato. We're the kind of woman usually transported across state lines for immoral purposes. Kind, attentive, and considerate, she's deeply committed to those she loves, and that's one of the reasons this tears her apart. One of those things that she loves about this man, after all, is the way he treats the ones to whom he is closest, not her. He can't treat her as if she were really part of his life, after all, but others, his real family, the inhabitants of his real life. If he were an emotional bully or an emotional slob, she wouldn't have been drawn to him. She understands how divided he is, how he feels like a piece of meat being sliced up by a rusty knife, how he feels like he's drowning and suffocated and being eaten alive all at once. He too is a decent person, except for this business of loving someone he isn't supposed to love. She can't believe this is her life. Nobody else would believe it either, even the man. It's a tough, rotten, exhausting routine. Nobody chooses it on purpose. This is not a defense of her. She knows better than you what she's doing is indefensible. Don't ridicule her, and don't think you don't know her. You do.
I love it, love it, love it, love it. And it's just so, there's something about the whole possibility of short flash fiction. When you first asked me, I thought, oh my God, I write like 400-page novels. How am I going to write flash fiction? But I wanted to try. And the thing is once you write a piece of flash fiction, everything is so succinct and so, tight. And so it's almost like the power becomes more so, almost like an atom bomb in a lot of ways. So I wanted actually to talk about what would a fast fallen man essay look like, do you think? Since men are judged differently than women.
I think that it looks like Paradise Lost, although that's more than 750 words. I think that the fallen man is the one, he's the hero of every story we've ever read, right? He is, everybody's fallen. Every man is the bad boy. He's the dangerous guy. He's the one who just rode into town with his brim down over his eyes or wearing shades.
Right.
He's always on the edge. He's always do you remember the song? Again, I show my age, but Secret Agent Man. Here's a
Oh,
man
yeah.
who lives his life of
Yeah.
danger.
Yep, yep.
Everyone he meets, he stays a stranger.
Mm.
I mean, but that's supposed to be, we're all supposed to be open books. Women are supposed to
Right.
open our lives. It used to be that the only way that women could have your names in the newspaper, a good woman, was on the day you were born and the day you were, no, the day you got married and the day you died.
Right.
Those 2 times your name was supposed to be in the newspaper. And, one of those days you're giving up your name, or you're switching your dad's name to your husband's name. And then, and then you drop dead. So those are the 2, you're never supposed to have done anything else.
I
So
know.
you were never supposed to draw any attention. You were never supposed to have any ambitions. You were not supposed to want anything. The very idea of wanting something was to lose innocence. And women are supposed to, the idea of heresy is one of the things I always teach the classes, but heresy comes from the Greek word for choice. It doesn't have to do with evil. It doesn't have to choose with choosing bad or to do something rotten. It just has to do with knowing you have a choice. And the minute the minute you know you have a choice, the lights go on. The minute you know you have a choice, you're already the bad girl. Because you think,
Right. That's right.
I don't have to be here. I don't have to get married, or I don't have to get married to that guy that my parents chose, or I don't have to get married to a man, or I could fall in love with whatever I want, or I could take off across the country in a motorcycle like Marna Deitch did. The motorcycle essay. I could fall, I could kiss a girl, I could, climb up a mountain, I could go to the priest and say, I don't know if you should give me communion, as Angela Bonavoglia does. I don't know if you should give me communion because I believe in a different way that women should be treated by the church. There are lots of ways that women are making decisions going, I don't think that the way you're telling me what I'm supposed to do is what I'm going to do. And from then on, you're a bad girl.
That's right. We were talking a little bit about this before, but it's popular culture in with fast fallen women. Around the same time that there were very male dominated songs like Lightning Strikes, which was about guy who can't control himself,
right?
Or Go Away Little Girl, before I tie you up and make you stay. But there were what's interesting is that as a young girl, I never thought anything about like, oh, that's terrible. Instead, I thought, well, I better not be that kind of girl. It's my responsibility. But then you have songs like the Gloria Gaynor song, I Will Survive.
Oh, I love that.
And the Helen Reddy song about I Am Woman.
Right.
People made fun of that Helen Reddy song. I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar.
Right.
I'm not going to take this anymore. They said, oh, she's just a frustrated old broad.
Right. Exactly.
It's hopefully this stuff has changed, but I've been noticing there's a lot of male noise about the Barbie movie, for example. They think, oh my God, they're trying to destroy the patriarchy. And of course, my response and many women's response is, what's wrong with that? So can you talk about, bad girls and Barbie and music and
absolutely
culture?
I have Barbies all over my office. And in fact, here, I'll show you. I still have, this is the Barbie dress.
Oh my God. And you have the evil queen. You have the evil queen?
Yes, I'm the evil queen is right back there, because the evil queen, my first book was, they used to call me Snow White, but I drifted.
Oh, yes, that's
right. So it was always the original bad girl, right? They used to call me Snow White, but I drifted. It was always like, yeah, I did something else. They used to do once I was, now I am, right? So once I was Snow White, and then it's an Old Mae West line. You can't go wrong with an Old Mae West line. And it really, so the drifting part is the fallen woman. It's the way I used to, I'm as fresh as the driven slush. But the idea of, the fear of women making decisions. That's what I mean. Barbie I mean, how can you be scared of Barbie?
They're scared of Barbie. I know. It's
Scared
ridiculous.
of Barbie. And this is now, but this is becoming, I mean, that became a big political stuff, right? This
Yeah.
was on, these were serious speeches being made about like, I don't know that I can take my daughter to see Barbie. And I'm thinking, so you're going to take your daughter to see the sex trafficking movie made by the
Right.
That's what you're going to take your kid to see. Okay, now that's clearly a much healthier choice. Yeah, that is not, the idea that if there is, it's not, I think that men are resentful of women even trying to get power. I think that they're resentful if they're not the hero. And Ryan Gosling certainly gets a lot of screen time on Barbie. In the movie, I've seen it twice. But he's not. She doesn't go home with him. She doesn't want to. She wants to be just friends. That's what drives like the guy's crazy. It's like, the tagline for the movie is she's everything, right? He's just Ken. And that's the point they can't stand. He's just Ken.
We've got a Ken question for you from Linda Smith. Thank you, Linda, for the question. Thank you for mentioning the Barbie movie. Did you think there was too much Ken in it?
There was Ken enough. It was Ken enough. I think that I do believe that the amount of time given to the idea of patriarchy was terrific, because we're at the end where Ryan Gosling says, I thought patriarchy just really had to do with horses, was fabulous. I really think that if you explain it to people, that it really doesn't just have to do with horses. But when you see Ken's face open up when he sees all the men, he sees men on money, he sees George Bush, he sees Bill Clinton, then he goes to the man that he says, I don't think you're doing patriarchy right. And the guy in the suit says, oh, we're doing it even better than ever, because they're not looking at it anymore. It is secret nature, the hidden nature of patriarchy. It is again, one of the great lies why it's such a great feminist movie is because where Will Ferrell says, no, when we are all about women's empowerment and girls' empowerment. And when I see Sparkles, I think women's power. And he says, and we had like a woman CEO once in the 90s. It's the irony. It's like, I remember when I was one of the first classes of women at Dartmouth, right? So it was still all male when I got there. It's like they had let in a few women, but only a few at a time. So there wouldn't like be estrogen in the water. I don't know. Really, they did. And so, but it was like the idea that girls would somehow disrupt everything. And it really is, when we talked about the fall of man, what would a fallen man look like? A fallen man would be the one led astray by women. And I think that the idea was that if you look at what Eve did to mankind. If one woman could do that, what had happened if you let a whole bunch of them together, get into control? I think it's a very dangerous idea. And so that's why I think that, we love men. You have a man that
I love men.
I love men. So, my mother died when I was very young. I was brought up with my father. I have an older brother. I went to a boys' school. I have been married to the same guy. I have 2 stepsons. I am surrounded. I love the young men in my classes and the non-binary people in my classes. It's not like it's just girls, but the idea of women together laughing, we become like the 3 witches at the beginning of Macbeth. We are terrifying. And I think that that's what happened in the Barbie movie, is that women were yelling. And even in my little theater in Connecticut that seats like 12, we're like yelling and applauding. And I think that the idea of women making noise and saying yeehaw is a scary idea, because if they all sort of get together, what's going to happen?
Yeah, what are they talking about? What are they doing?
Exactly. Right.
what are they doing? Why are they all going to the ladies' room at the same time? It's like that thing. And we're going there so we can talk and laugh.
Exactly. So we can laugh. And the minute that women are in the ladies' room, when we're in the toilet, we are immediately telling our most intimate stories to each other. A woman goes into the bathroom and like you hear her going, oh God, I have such a headache. And somebody else, you see somebody in the toilet flushing, going, I have aspirin, I have Aleve, I have Advil. Is it allergy related? I have Sudafed, I have Benadryl. Another woman is going, I'm a nurse, I have samples. What do you? Somebody else goes, do you caffeine? I have coupons for Starbucks. I mean, we're bonding. And somebody else is saying, why do you have a headache? Would you have a headache? Is it work? Is it family? Is it this? My 12-year-old is rolling her eyes at me. I know it's really, I mean, we're talking, my husband plays poker with a group of guys he's known for like 116 years. And I say, oh, did you know, Ron's wife is pregnant at 42. Did you know?
They didn't know, right?
And he's going, I didn't know he was married.
Oh,
but he knows what kind of car he drives and he knows the mileage.
That's really funny. We have a great question from the wonderful Laura Rossi. Why should younger women, Gen Z and younger, read this book in particular? I have a college-age daughter, and I think all her friends need this book, especially now. I totally agree with that. Speak on that. Speak about that.
Okay, I do think that, first of all, there are very young writers in the book. So it's not something, that it's, you don't have to be postmenopausal to like this book. You probably should be over 16 is what I have to say. But there are a lot of young women that are talking about their relationships with their mothers, with their families, with their relationship with food, where it counts if you're being bad, if you're like eating cookies. And I'm thinking, that this idea of judging oneself as being bad,
right?
Because they think they lack discipline, or they didn't run enough, or the way that we are often our harshest judges, and that young women still suffer from, young men do too, but we're talking about women. It's like, Ken enough. There are lots of books about men, but this one is about women, and it's about the struggle that we have, not only by being judged from the outside, but judging ourselves. And so they're talking about like, oh, I was bad today. And if there's a young woman that comes into my office saying, well, I was really bad today. I said, like, did you sleep with your cousin? Like, what'd you do? And if she's like, I had sugar in my coffee, I say, leave, come back with a story. This is not, and but I take them seriously, but they're their harshest judges. And they need not to, but they need to tell their stories also to each other about, if you fail, it doesn't mean you've fallen. Everybody's allowed to fail. Everybody's allowed to screw up. Everybody's allowed to love someone and not be loved back. And everybody is allowed not to love someone who loves them. And that is still something I think especially young women struggle with. But he likes me so much. How do I not be with him? It's like, you don't owe him. You don't owe her a relationship. Just because this person loves you, or is deeply attracted to you, or believes they love you, if you don't care for them, you don't owe them a relationship.
That's right.
You don't owe them anything. You don't owe somebody something unless you want to give it. And then it's out of your choice. It's not because a tabulation where you have something to give and so somebody else gets to take it from you. That's not how it works. And that's still something that a lot of young women or all of us need to hear. Some of us need to, have refresher courses in it. And some of the readers need to hear it for the first time. And it's also why men should read the book. It's also like, we've been reading Catch-22 for a long time, not too many broads.
That's right. That's right.
Humboldt's Gift. We've been reading, everything by John Cheever and John Updike and everything else. We know a lot about them losing their virginity to diner waitresses. We can have the perspective of the diner waitress. It's a really interesting one.
I want to talk about humor, because humor makes everything better. You know, it makes like what's so terrible suddenly, if you can laugh about it, it's not so terrible at all. And it puts things in a different view. So this is a two-part question. The first part is, tell us about when you discovered humor and how you first used it. And second of all, when did you start becoming a writer?
Those are very nice questions, Caroline. Humor, I think I started using as a kid, but I really did develop it or sort of sharpen it, like you sharpen the edge of a blade, when I was at college, when women were very much, there were 7 men for every woman in the class I was in, and I thought that was going to make me like Miss Budweiser. Really popular, but guys would come up, these like cute blonde boys, they all look like they should be singing Tomorrow Belongs to Me. They were these athletes, they were lovely. And you know, and I'm this short Italian, I look like I'm, you know, Tina Fey says she always looks like she was there to clean the aquarium. That's what I felt like. And, you know, I'm there like, I take care of your sheets, you know, I do them nice. And I would go up and, you know, I'd say hi, and they go, where do you go to school? And I'd say, oh, I sit next to you in chemistry. And they'd be like, no, I'm going out. I was like, you're not from Smith or I mean, they wanted somebody, as I understood, they wanted somebody they could send home, except on the weekends. And I mean, like, don't you want that? I mean, I liked that, you know, you don't, it was like they didn't want somebody who was going to be around all the time. And it was, so I learned when guys said, they would say, when our grandfathers went here, there were no women. And for 3 years, I tried to make an argument for coeducation. And by the last year, I stopped. And I said, when our grandfathers went here, there were no women. I said, when your grandfathers went here, there were no indoor lights. Sometimes things get better. and they would hear that and laugh. And I realized that when you make somebody laugh, even if they disagree with you, they've heard you.
They've heard
if
you.
they laugh, they heard you. So a friend of mine was a swimmer. She had short hair, broad shoulders, a real swimmer, fabulous, athletic build. And at one party, at some frat party, which I went to as less as I could, not as often as others, some guy came up to her and said, anybody ever mistake you for a guy? And she turned around without blinking and said, no, you? And I thought I worshiped at her altar. It was amazing. What a
Did he laugh? Did he laugh?
He did not laugh, but the rest of his friends laughed. I mean, it was, and that's the one when you come up with the idea is to come up with the line. And I mean, so I learned, you know, there were, you know, in all of the books that I've done, I've tried to embrace the wise answer, which is often the funny answer, so that, but half of it was looking at the women who've done that, so that you know, somebody comes up and says, loved your book, who wrote it for you, right? You know, you answer, glad you liked it, who read it to you? You know,
that's so great.
I mean, you know, somebody come out there, if they're using you as their, you know, target, then it's a kind of a jujitsu. Then it becomes a kind of martial art. You take the energy that they're leveling at you, you turn it around, you turn it back on them. It's perfectly fair. It's like somebody gives you 6 bricks to carry, and you say, you know what? No, you carry them. You're good. You're good. You'll be fine with me. I'm not accepting these. I'm not taking these. For me, so it was learning how to answer back. And it was the idea that, you know, when somebody come up and, well, feminists don't do this. I said, feminists do anything that we want. I assume everybody I meet is a feminist because I assume that, you know, I give people the benefit of the doubt. I assume you're a feminist. If you don't think that women are just a way for men to make other men, you're a feminist. That's it. There's no dues, you know, I mean, it's not so, and it's a very funny feminist. We've had to learn how to be funny. We've had to engage our senses of humor merely as a way to survive and enjoy life, as you well know.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So we've been talking a lot about younger women, why this book is important for them, but let's switch it around to ageism and older women, because there are older women and there are older women. And, you know, like well, what I mean by that is they were the older women who we're still out there working and having fun and causing trouble. And there are other people who they retire at 55 and they want to sit and, you know, see their grandchildren, and that's their life, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think this book is just as important for them, if not more so, because what advice would you tell older women on how to kick up their heels and be a little bad and see where it takes you?
I think that's also great. It's a great line. And I think that there are so many ways to get older ungracefully. That it's wonderful.
Yes.
It's absolutely wonderful. The idea of growing old with grace. I never had grace.
No,
Why on earth would I grow old with it? It's not, I mean, like, at what point is that going to happen? I don't think
Right.
so. And of course, the opposite of humor is dignity.
Right.
I mean, you have to let dignity go, because dignity is again about following the rules that somebody else made. And
Right.
so it is about having fun. And all of us come to each new phase of our lives as ingenues. We don't know how to
Right.
be I don't know how to be this age. I've never been
Right.
this age. It's
Right.
really, it's like, it's interesting, but there's with the script that worked at 38 is not going to work now.
Oh, no, 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 no.
And but again, that's the interesting part. So if somebody wants to stay, you know, put her feet up and knit and paint and you know, give back to the world in whatever way she wants to, that's fabulous. But as long as it's not seen as, again, not a choice.
Right,
Well,
not a choice, right.
I can't do this anymore. I'm too old.
Right.
That's not the case. And that's where finding, just as you said, sort of finding other troublemakers.
Yeah.
And that's marvelous. That's the great thing to be able to do. I think that if there's any way of getting in or being kept out of heaven, if there's a heaven, it's not going to be on what you did wrong. It's on opportunities that you were given.
Right. That's
for
right.
joy
That's right.
that you didn't take.
That's right. I'll give you a bad fallen woman thing to do, which is, and I do this all the time. Whenever I see those ads in my social media feed about like 20 things women over 50 shouldn't do or wear or whatever, I always respond and say, stop telling me what to do. You know, stop this ridiculousness, because there are other, you can see in New York, you can see women in their 90s wearing plaids with stripes and big hats. And whenever I see them, I want to go up and talk to them and say, oh, you look fabulous.
Yeah.
Absolutely fabulous. So one more question for you, which is, what's the best advice you can tell women on how to take the first steps to having fun with being fallen?
Having fun with being fallen, I think, is somehow to, you know, there is that old saying, I mean, it used to be on tea towels everywhere. It was grow where you're planted. And that's like, no, get out,
No.
get out. Do not move to your own patch of soil. Go to where the sun shines on you. You do not have to grow where you're planted unless you're an endive. Okay, you get to choose where you want to be. You do not have to be where somebody has buried you or where somebody has landed you. You get to move. You get to create yourself. And that's the fun part. And then the lights go out. I feel like I'm being judged.
They're
Wonderful
They're
advice.
turning the lights out on you.
That's it.
Did you feel like the hook was coming in?
I'm really going to make them go on again. See, you have to move. That's how you have to move. It's literal.
You do.
It's literal.
You do.
I could listen to you two ladies all night long. All night long.
We can talk all night long.
I imagine that you could. I think it's a good thing. Which brings up, I think somebody asked earlier, Gina, where are you taking the rise? It's not really a series, but the fall. Where are you taking the next books in this?
The next book is going to be, and I've already got the 75 writers lined up, and it's even, of course,
Wow.
is in it, and Laura Rossi is in it, and Amy Sherman is in it, and many of the same, Jane Smiley is in it, and Darren Buzzi, and, you know, wonderful writers who've been there before. Mimi Pond is going to come back. Lynn Parrell, and lots of other, Ebony Murphy Root, great writers, and it's going to be fast, famous women. And now we're coming up with the one that's after that. And I'm always looking for new writers. So that's that people want to take a look at Fast Fallen Women is to see the kinds of places. I have a lot of writers who I don't know, that I haven't encountered before in Fast Famous Women, because the books are becoming more well known. And so people are now sending me their work, but they know the earlier books, so they know the kinds of essays and writing that I'm engaged with, and how to pitch the
To come into
writing.
into it. Yeah. Do you sell anything for your energy level? Because I want to buy it.
No, but it's really, I gotta say, first of all, knowing that we were doing this together, it's a coven. I mean, I gotta say, they're all right. It's witchcraft, just like the song. I want to be played by Kim. Oh, come on, what's her name from the witch movie? Never mind.
Okay.
Kim Novak. Kim Novak.
Oh, Kim Novak.
Right.
Kim
Oh,
Novak.
yeah.
Bell, Book and Candle. But it really is, this is why writing and the sense of community and conversation and what you're doing, Julie, and Warwick's and it brings,
So important.
Energizing.
we come away livelier than when we entered, right?
Oh.
This is a takeaway.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But your energy is infectious, and finding all these writers and putting all of this together. Oh my goodness. And teaching and everything you do is just simply amazing. So kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Caroline, do you want to tell us a little bit about the book that's coming out in 2024?
Okay. Days of Wonder is about a lot of stuff. It's not as funny as Gina, but you will cry, I hope. It's about the afterlives of two kids. When they were 15, they fell in love, and they somehow got charged with an attempted murder. One goes to prison, the other does not. It's about a whole lot of stuff. It's about Orthodox Jews in Williamsburg. It's about tattoos. It's about women's prison. It's about all the lengths we go to for love.
Oh, sounds.
I'm already there.
Me too. We're in.
Already
We
there.
are in.
Thank you.
Ladies, come back, please, for the next one.
Tomorrow, we'll be there tomorrow.
Please. Laura set this up with us again. We adore having both of you. Best of luck with this collection. Caroline, can't wait to see you next year for the new book too. So great luck with that. And so with that, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Thank you very much. Bye.